Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Bedtime Stories. I am your humble host, MacLeod the Bard, and here at Bedtime Stories, we aim to provide you, our beloved listener, with tales of old to lift your spirits throughout the day, and at night to lull you into the peaceful realm of dreams. So, whether you're looking for a pastime during your day, or for someone to bore you to sleep at night, consider me your man. With the help of my Celtic lyre, I shall now endeavor to create for you a soundscape that nourishes your imagination. And, I dare say, reaches your heart. This is Bedtime Stories on CFRU 93.3, and I'm your host, MacLeod the Bard. What is a bard? Well, I am very glad that you asked. A bard is a storyteller from ancient times, tasked with the telling of the history, law, morals, and genealogy of a people, through the use of the spoken word and musical accompaniment. To that end, I have with me my trusty Celtic lyre. To assist me with this most ancient of tasks. Nowadays, stories are more important than ever to remind us of our truest selves while we attempt to navigate this new, unmapped cyber age which we find ourselves in. Upon those unknown waters, let the work of the bard be the lighthouse that reminds you of the whispers in your heart and the memories of your dreams. This week, we will be continuing our journey through the Norse myths, guided by the legendary poetic Edda, from which has sprung all that we know of those ancient and well-known stories. Last week, we dove into the Havamal, a collection of proverb-like wisdom attributed to the one-eyed father himself. Today, however, we will be exploring some of the most notorious, entertaining, and shameful adventures that the Asgardians had ever found themselves in. Our first tale is one of the most important adventures that Odin had ever embarked on, one which greatly benefited humanity at the time, and even all the way to today. What began as the task to make right a wrong that had been done to Asgard and to humanity soon became a complicated affair, requiring not only a delicate touch, but a generous helping of wisdom. Kvasir, Kvasir, greatest poet and wisest among all men, patron of all that is pleasing to the ears, favorite even of Odin himself, for the wise speech that forever flowed from the most artful of all men. Grieved truly was Odin when one day his trusted ravens, Hugin and Munin, returned from their daily reconnaissance with news that, not only had Kvasir died, but that he fell victim to an evil act committed by the dwarves of Svartalheim. These dwarves, whom I shall not name, for their punishment entails being forgotten by history, grew envious of Kvasir's wisdom, and, under the pretence of seeking his guidance, drew the man into a trap and extinguished his life. However, the dwarves did not stop there. They took it a step further by using Kvasir's blood to brew a magical mead, which bestowed untold wisdom to whomever drank of it. An evil thing in the wrong hands, no doubt, yet, in the right hands, may be used to bring good into the world. King Odin decided he would claim the magic mead. Yet, to a king, few choices are as simple as they may appear. Only recently, the dwarves had made gifts of Gungnir, Draupnir, and Mjolnir to the Aesir, and for the first time there existed goodwill between their worlds. As each of us knows, and as King Odin knew, it is wrong to break faith. This may have been the end of our tale, if not for the capture of the magic mead by the mortal enemies of the Aesir, the dreaded Jotun. To leave this treasure in the hands of the enemy was unthinkable, and so Odin embarked on his quest. When Odin departed Asgard, he did not do so as the great and wealthy king that he was, adorned in gold and armor, nor did he bring his famed weapon Gungnir. Rather, he took up a simple robe and wide-rimmed hat, using the name Vegtong, Wanderer. Winning the mead would require guile and wit, not brute force. To this end, Vegtong opted for an indirect method, venturing not to the possessor of the mead himself, Suttung, but to Suttung's younger and much simpler brother, Baugi. Approaching the dwelling of Baugi at midday near harvest time, Vegtong saw workers in the field and made his move. The workers numbered that of the magical number 7. Uh, oh, 9. It was 9 workers. Both numbers are so magical and easy to confuse, you understand. Now, all 9 workers were cutting the wheat with huge axes. Uh, Scythes, of course. Yes, they use scythes, of course. So, as everyone heard me say, all 9 workers toiled with their great but dull scythes. Vegton approached and offered them his magical cup to sharpen them. Wait. A whetstone. I said whetstone, of course. Now, my mouth has become a little dry. Allow me to drink a moment. Ugh. I hope none of you have to try this brew. Ah, yes, I remember now. Vegtom offered the whetstone to each of the 9 workers to sharpen their scythes, and when they had, the once dull blades cut through the wheat as if the wind had sheared it. "Give us the whetstone! Give us the whetstone! Give us the whetstone!" The workers clamored. "Take it," said Vegtam, throwing it high, high toward them. The workers each tried to catch it for himself, shoving the others away. When the whetstone reached its apex and began to fall toward them, the midday sun blinded them. With one hand reaching for the whetstone, the other protected their eyes from the blinding sun. With that, all 9 of the enchanted scythes fell toward its neighbor, and as the whetstone hit the earth, so too did all 9 workers, dead. Satisfied, Vegtong left the field toward the house of Baugi. His first play successful, no one could deny there was a certain spring in his step. Vegtong came to the house to request food and lodging in accordance with the laws of hospitality which reigned during those nobler times. While at the dinner table, an urgent messenger arrived to inform Baugi that all 9 of his workers had seemingly killed each other. Baugi became frantic, worried how all the work would be finished in time for the winter. Why, he could lose everything! Then Vegtong said, "I can do the work of 9 men. Give me a trial and see." The next day Vegtong indeed proved the truth of his claim. "Work for me this season, and I shall give you a full reward." At the end of the season, Vegtong claimed his price, a draught of the magic mead. "The magic mead? I do not know where it is, or how to get it." "Your elder brother Suttong has it. Go to him and claim a draught." Being simple, Baugi was confused. but did as Vegtong had said. His brother, Suttung, however, was one of the most cunning of the Jotun. Angrily, he spoke to Baugi. "You say all 9 of your workers died, and this wanderer offered to do the work of 9 laborers? Oh, brother, as foolish as the zombies of Helheim! Who could do such work, and who would ask for such a reward but one of our enemies, the Aesir? Depart, brother, and never speak to me of the magic mead again." Rebuked, Baugi returned to Vegtong with the brother's answer. "I still hold you to your promise. If he will not share it, then we will take it." So saying, he brought Baugi to the outer wall of the vault, handing him an auger. "Use your Jotun strength to bore a hole through this wall." A daunting task indeed. It took almost an hour and the greater part of Baugi's strength to complete, but when it was, the Jotun became sick and tired of Vegtong, now holding the auger as if it were a stabbing tool, staring at Vegtong with hostile eyes, ready to attack the wanderer. Now, Vegtong was ready to make his next move, but was unable to with the brutish Jotun next to him, ready to pounce. So, to extricate himself from this precarious situation, Vegtong used one of his greatest and most ancient tricks. "Look up." Baugi did. Seizing his opportunity, the thin hole became a huge tunnel as Vegtong transformed himself into a raven so he could fit through the snake. He transformed into a snake. That's an easy mistake to make. The two are so similar after all. I mean, they both have eyes, yes, and both eat food. You see, the similarities are so many, one would struggle to name them. Now, pause a moment while I take my inspiration. Ugh. I hope none of you ever have to taste this brew. Yes, now I remember. Vegtong transformed into a snake and tunneled through the hole in the wall, not only escaping the Jotun, but at last finding himself in the vault with the magic mead. But one last obstacle remained. In his cunning, jealous possession of the magic mead, Suttung had enchanted his daughter, Gunnlod, to forever guard against its theft. Gunnlod was not like other Jotun. Instead, she was kind and beautiful, and she cared for the world, wishing to explore it. Yet, in her captivity, was cursed to appear as a hideous monster. She was restrained by her curse, and lamented that her disfigurement kept her from what she loved. At first, Gunnlod was startled by the intruder, especially when he spoke her name, Gunnlod. She grew defensive, accusing him of trying to steal the magic mead, of sneaking, of thievery. Yet he stepped closer and spoke her name again, Gunnlod. So close, she could now see him clearly, no longer in his guise as a wanderer, but in his true form as king. His noble eyes, the hard-won wisdom on his face, his proud beauty, caused her to fall in love at first sight. "Save me from this ugliness," she said. "I will save you." he answered. The two took to each other's arms. They kissed. Her curse was lifted, and they spent the next days in loving embrace. After a time, Odin displayed a great sorrow. He fell to his knees and began to weep, tears pouring down his face as Gunnlod grew sick with worry. He confessed to her. Oh, Gunnlod, you are most beautiful in the 9 worlds. I am so sorry I have failed you. How? She stammered. No, I can't. Your beauty deserves the greatest poems and songs, yet I have not the skill to write them. Your eyes, your hair, your skin, your lips. And my nose, Gunnlod said. Hmm? My nose is finely shaped too. Oh, your nose! Oh, how it deserves a poem all of its own. He wept again. If only I had the skill. Gunnlod glanced at the barrel of magic mead, then back to Odin. Perhaps a single drop of the mead would not cause harm. With her permission, he put his hands on the great barrel. Just one drop, Gunnlod reminded. Odin looked over his shoulder at her, then back to the barrel. Firmly planting both hands about it, he lifted it high, and in 3 great draughts drained the barrel dry, taking all of its contents into his body. He quickly departed for Asgard, but first he kissed Gunnlod goodbye, and the brief taste of the mead on her lips instantly granted her the gift of poetry, and she forevermore sang songs to the beauty and might of Odin, the greatest man she had ever known. As for Odin, he quickly took the form of an eagle and flew back to Asgard, but was seen by the formidable Suttung, who also took the form of an eagle and entered into hot pursuit. Thus the race was on. Although Odin had the lead, Suttung was much greater in size, and each flap of his giant wings brought him closer and closer to his prey. Odin doubled his efforts, but it seemed that in this contest of physicality, he would soon lose. Now, if anyone here has ever tried running on a full stomach, you'll know the discomfort that our eagle felt. The more he strained to gather speed, the more he struggled to control his stomach. When the walls of Asgard were in reach, and it seemed that Suttung would finally catch his prey, Odin did the only thing he could. He answered the call of nature. Belching, the mead erupted over the walls of Asgard, and forever out of the reach of the Jotun. Now, for the distasteful part of our tale. Those of you with delicate sensibilities, cover your ears now. For, while the mead that went forward into Asgard was perfectly preserved, and would grant eloquence and skill to whomever drank of it, some of the mead went in the other direction, out of Odin's backside, drenching Suttung in foul shower. The bad poets, the one who forget their lines, who botch their rhymes, who cannot tell the difference between an axe and a scythe, or a snake or a raven, are said to have drank from that mead. Alas, some bards can only attain this lesser brew. Ah! Now, my tale complete and my cup empty, this story has come to an end. May the legacy of Kvasir be a source of inspiration to you all. I'm McLeod the Bard, and you're listening to CFRU 93.3 FM. Beloved listeners, most of us are well aware of the exploits of the one and only Thor the Thunderer, but this tale is, without a doubt, his least favorite. So, if a stray thunderbolt happens to touch down, you have been forewarned. Why? Because this is the story of how Thor lost his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, and the shameful things he did to win it back. Great Thor was champion of the Aesir, lord of thunder, slayer of giants, and he was almost awake. With one hand, he made contact with his wife, as the other made contact with the hammer, or at least tried to, but it was not in its favored place. His hand groggily checked the second favored place, then the third. His hand went to his belt. It wasn't the first time that a keg of dwarven ale had caused him to fall asleep with his weapon still on his hip, but it wasn't there either. Finally, Thor sat up and looked around. Where's my hammer? As consciousness returned to him, albeit slowly, Thor had to acknowledge that his hammer had gone missing. His thoughts immediately went to that infamous lover of mischief, Loki, and so he went to Loki's home and immediately interrogated him. However, the surprise and amusement on his face told Thor that he was innocent. This time. "Don't worry, Thor. I'll help you find it," Loki offered. Thor added, Yes, just make sure no one else learns of this." "Of course," said the lover of mischief. The first thing Loki did was to go to Freya, most beautiful of the Aesir. "Freya," said Loki, "Thor lost his hammer. Lend me your feather cloak so that I may fly to find it." This she did, and away he went towards his suspect, Thrym, stupidest of the giants, who yet had streaks of cunning in him. "Bad news from Asgard. Thor has lost his hammer." Thrym let out a deep chuckle in response. Feigning gullibility, Loki continued, "Might you know its whereabouts, O mighty King Thrym?" The deep chuckle became a boastful laugh. "Ah, ha, 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 ha!" And then, "I have the hammer, 8 miles under the earth, where it shall remain until Freya is sent as my bride." Now, it must be said that this turn of events made the lover of mischief giddy with excitement. "Ah, of course, I understand. I shall inform Asgard." And so he did. First telling Thor, who immediately went to Freya. "Freya, put on a wedding dress. The two of us, man and woman, are going to Jotunheim." Silence crossed the room. "Excuse me?" Not burdened by anything like self-doubt, Thor continued, "You must go as a bride to the giants so that I can get my hammer back. Hurry!" Now, ladies of the audience, I have no doubt that every single one of you has experienced the brutishness of a man that is utterly inconsiderate of your feelings. And, fellas, I know that every one of us has had that moment when we share what we think is a great idea, only for our lady to look at us as if we are the stupidest of giants. And so, we can all imagine how that exchange went. Instead, a council was called among the Aesir. Unsurprisingly, Asgard decreed that, as valuable as Mjolnir was, every last one of them would rather spend their days guarding the walls, even if it meant they could no longer travel and spend time in Midgard, rather than give their beloved Freya as a bride to Thrym. "But my hammer!" Thor protested. "I have an idea," said Heimdall, the sleepless guardian of Asgard, whose wisdom was second only to Odin himself. "Let's hear it!" Thor quickly replied. "You're not going to like it," Heimdall warned.
Come now, Heimdall, tell us, Thor insisted. Heimdall hesitated. You're really not going to like it. Thor went on. Any plan is better than no plan. I need my hammer back, and Asgard needs its defense back. No matter the cost, we will one and all support your plan. Now tell us, Heimdall. Heimdall sighed before responding. We shall send a bride to Thrym, only we shall not send Freya, but one of our warriors in bridal dress to win it back. Thor laughed. Ah ha ha! Great plan, wise Heimdall. That stupid giant will never see it coming. But, of course, then the question arose of which Aesir would do so shameful a thing. Only one is suitable. Send he who lost the hammer. The entire congregation turned to Thor. No one likes this idea. This is the worst idea any of us have ever heard. No one wants to do this. We're thinking of a new plan. Shut up, Thor, chimed in Loki. I will go as your serving maiden, and together we shall restore your power. Me? In a bridal gown? The people of Asgard will never stop laughing at me. Loki retorted in his cunning way, cutting right to the issue. Aye, but there will never again be laughter in Asgard if you do not get your hammer back. At this, Thor could say no more, and at that, the ladyfolk of Asgard had great cheer in beautifying the Thunderer himself. Oh, how they placed a wedding dress on Thor. They put a chain of jingling keys at his belt, and they cheered. Thor looked down. He saw the woman's dress draped down to his knees. He lamented the loss of his mighty greaves. Then the ladyfolk returned to their new game. Oh, how they placed jewels on his chest and wrapped a pretty headdress around his head, and they cheered. Thor looked down. Where his breastplate had been, pretty jewels now were. Where his helmet had been, a pretty headdress now was. Then the ladyfolk returned to their new game. They even put Brisingamen on his neck, the most prized adornment in all of Asgard, and they giggled in glee. Thor looked down. He hardly recognized his own form, and instead of intimidating the enemies of Asgard, he would now provoke a very different response in them. The ladyfolk returned to their new game. The bride of Thrym was ready. He and Loki traveled to Jotunheim on Thor's chariot, carried by the two immortal goats. All the while, Thor struggling to contain his anger, and Loki struggling to contain his laughter. When they arrived, Thrym, most stupid of the giants, spoke. Stand up, giants! Spread hay on the seats! In my hall, we have gold-horned cows and black oxen for our dinners. I have plenty of treasures. The only thing I lack is Freya. Bring my bride to me. The reception hall soon filled with the wedding party and the celebrants. The feast was promptly served. Thor, not burdened by something like self-doubt, was completely unaware how unladylike he was, and immediately ate an entire ox to himself, and then ate whole salmon. When the dessert tray was brought out, he ate the entire platter to himself, leaving none for the ladyfolk, who immediately became resentful. Luckily, we mortals of Midgard know better than to come between a woman and her chocolate. Thrym was aghast. Who has ever seen a bride eat like this? How can Freya eat so much? But Loki, clever bridesmaid, found words to ease Thrym's suspicions. Ah, poor Freya, daintiest of the Aesir. She has not been able to eat for 8 nights. So eager was she to come to your hall, Thrym. Thrym, most stupid of the giants, was flattered and immediately put at ease. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Bring out the mead. But once again Thor, not burdened by something like self-doubt, immediately drank an entire barrel to himself, to the astonishment of all. Thrym looked through the bridal veil before leaping back in shock, and he turned to Loki. Why does Freya have such fierce and grim eyes? And again the clever bridesmaid found words to ease Thrym's suspicions. Ah, poor Freya, daintiest of the Aesir. She has not been able to sleep for 8 nights. So eager was she to come to your hall, Thrym. And again Thrym was flattered. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Yes, yes. Loki sensed his opportunity. Now, Thrym, place into the lap of Freya the hammer, that she may know the great recompense she has won for her family. And this he did, though the hammer was so heavy that it required 2 servants to carry, and rather gracelessly at that. They shuffled down the hall. Turn left. No, no, your other left. Hey, look, it's not heavy, okay? It's just awkward. Pivot, pivot, pivot! The bubbling pair eventually succeeded in placing the hammer on the lap of the bride, and in that single moment everything changed. Then Thor, that tough-minded fighter, laughed with a full heart, gripping his hammer. There he was, in the heart of his enemy's base, where they were most vulnerable, and the enemies themselves had just handed Thor the means of their own destruction. You can well imagine that roaring laugh of triumph was one of the greatest Thor had ever bellowed. And, beloved listener, you know that it was well earned. It was time for the Thunderer's comeback. With the first swing, he struck Thrym, most stupid of giants, on his thick skull, instantly killing him. The second swing was a wide arc that eliminated the entire wedding party. The third and final swing was at the hall itself, causing the entire structure to implode in its own footprint. Amongst the rubble, only 2 were left standing, Thor and Loki. Loki turned to Thor and began, Well, bride of Thrym, that... But Thor cut him off. Silence, Loki! You have had your joke and your fill of amusement, at my expense, but now my hammer is returned to me, and I will hear no more of your mockery, or I will throttle thee, red laugher. This, Loki knew, was the truth, for Thor was one of the few Asgardians that would make good on a threat, and so he acquiesced. For the moment. Good, said Thor. We shall never speak of this again. To that, Loki nodded. Of course, I have heard the story, and now you have too, so someone out there must have told. Now, if an angry thunderbolt falls from the sky, just remember that MacLeod the Bard did warn you. But, as the legend goes, if you retell this story one day, Loki aids his agents of mischief. Use this knowledge responsibly. Now, dear listeners, my stories this day have come to an end. Thank you for sharing your time and your ears with me on this fine spring night. Well, almost spring. I hope that before long our paths will cross again, and we will have the opportunity to share stories with each other once more. Until such a time, here is my final offering of music. I am McLeod the Bard, and you're listening to CFRU 93.3 FM.